So, welcome to another episode of Beta Talk. Beta Talk is now working in conjunction with my new newsletter, which you can find on betateach.co.uk. And I'd like to thank my guild patrons for helping me in disseminate information from really, really good engineers. And the guild patrons are Cast Rads, fantastic cast radiators. Primary Pro, which make, as most of you will know, the outside pipe insulation system, and also the Renewable Centre being run by the Wolsey Group. So thank you ever so much to my guild patrons. Now today we've got a wonderful episode coming up for you. I'm interviewing Adam Chapman. Adam needs no introduction really. He's Heat Geek. He's Heat Geek numero uno. And you may have seen a LinkedIn article I did last week, maybe the week before, where I said, and bearing in mind I know quite a lot about the history of this heating industry. I'm not a great engineer, but I know a lot about the history of it. And I said in that little post that Adam has done more than anyone in the history of heating to influence people learning, taking ownership of their own learning and learning all this wonderful science that's involved in our industry. So welcome to the show, Adam. The reason you're on is because you've announced this new thing called Zero Disrupt. And as we know, it's caused, I suppose it's caused a lot of disruption in the industry, lots of people talking about it. Everywhere. I've just noticed a forum. I did a Google search just a minute ago on Zero Disrupt, and there's a forum that come up. I've never seen this forum before, with people chatting about it. It's caused a lot of sort of chat. And so you're coming on to sort of help clear up and explain maybe better than posts, because you and I are not great at sort of explaining things on LinkedIn posts. So
Correct.
You've got ADHD. I mean, I probably have. I've not been tested.
Yeah.
I've got this. Yeah, I've got dyslexia. So welcome to the show. So Zero Disrupt. You announced it last week or the week before now?
It was announced last week. It has been disruptive. Good. First of all, thank you for that really lovely introduction. That means a lot coming from you. I don't know if I agree with it, but I'm going to take it. No, thank you. That means a lot. So yeah, we released it last Monday, and engineers have been using it for about a year though. We first started getting them in last November. These specific type of installs where we install less basically for the same efficiency. And they've been working very well, hence releasing it first time off. I guess as part of this as well, we've had a bit of a strip down of what it means to be a heat geek and what heat geek is. So I guess that's the real kind of contention. People look at heat geek, customers and installers, and what is it? Is it a training thing? Is it a YouTube channel? What is it? And it is difficult for us to explain often, which is why we have some work here to do, I think, to distill it down. And part of that is these recent changes. So I think the best way to describe what Heat Geek is in the most simple form is a way to get a heat pump installed in the most simple and risk-free way. And maybe you're part of that, which is the installer. The installers are our number one customer, or you're a homeowner. And so recently, it was the case that if someone done our training, we'd say they were heat certified, Heat Geek trained. We've had a load of issues there with people saying, "Oh, I've used one of your Heat Geeks. You're guaranteeing all their work." Well, I can't guarantee all their work. That would be an incredibly expensive business to guarantee all the work they do. So, and the other thing is, if they've done our training, great. But I don't know if they own a screwdriver. I don't know if they've ever drove a van, if they've got a driving license. I can't guarantee that. I know they're good at theory. I don't know if they implement that theory. And I saw you say the other day, actually, on LinkedIn, I don't know if they take ownership of their own learning. And that really struck a chord with me when you said that. I was like, yeah, that's it. This is just the Heat Geek training is just a tool to get you started. It's not the journey is the going and doing and implementing. So because the engineers that install through us and with us, we're monitoring every single one of their installs. We can see where it's going wrong, where it's going right, help them if it's going wrong, not kick them off, help them to grow, provided they're willing to and take ownership. Then, right, I'll stand by their work any day of the week. And so that was part of this main step, was to clarify what it means to be a Heat Geek. And a Heat Geek is a Heat Geek installer. They install with us using our software, and we guarantee their work. So that's tidied up. No one else, if someone else is using our branding, the Heat Geek branding, and they're not installing with us, then you set the banding down immediately. This is the new way, the way we have to do it to simplify what we're offering and make the journey less complicated for installers. A journey that's already too complicated. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I'll clarify it just to help some listeners. So, a heat geek, as you say, back in the day, when you sort of got into the training side of things and you issued your certificate, which was BPEC approved, wasn't it, them certificates? Rather like someone, if I went out and did BPEC training, I wouldn't call myself a BPEC engineer. And obviously, once you were sort of handed out certificates, people were calling themselves a heat geek engineer. They'd done the heat geek training, great, and a lot of people learned a lot from that. But what you're saying now is to call yourself a heat geek means they're actually on your platform now, and the advantage of being on your platform, you're saying, is so all their work is monitored, which feeds into all your big database and peer learning and things like that. But also at the same time, if it's being monitored, this is where your AI systems come into play and sort of can suss out some things from that.
That's exactly it. So I just clarify, if they go and do their own work, we can't monitor. If they've not done it in conjunction with us, we can't monitor it. So we don't guarantee that work. And all Heat Geeks are now making it explicitly clear that they're not getting the customer's not getting the Heat Geek guarantee if they don't do the work with us. That's fine. Because we will never we don't ever want to control their business. It's never been our thing. We want to offer something they can genuinely opt into and is better than their current method. If it's not better than them going to get their own CS, and doing their own work, then we're not doing it well enough. So I kind of like this optionality of them being able to opt in and opt out. It keeps us accountable that we have to provide extra value. So if they do come and do work through us, we monitor the installation because we're so confident in these guys doing an excellent job that we're going to guarantee they're going to hit this efficiency. And so what this Zero Disrupt sort of algorithm, AI assisted algorithm is, this looks at all the different combinations of radiators, cylinders, all the different costings for either the parts and or the labor, and works out thousands of iterations per every single home, and then picks the cheapest one. And so this is nothing that a trained heating engineer couldn't do. It would just take him about 20 years per house. You'd get absolutely sick of it. This is not replacing heating engineers. This is just doing what they do quicker on that bit. The important bit, though, is you have to understand what's been done, what's designed. This is the same as someone designing a system in Southampton for one up in Hull. Who's actually installing that? If you're not going to install that, who's going to put it in? The person installing is the most important part. As I always said, the most important part of the chain. And so when they get these designs and they're in the house, they understand why this size pipe work or why that size pipe work, etc., and how to fix things if they don't look right once they lift up the floorboards. So what this is really doing is empowering those engineers to offer a much more efficient installation. When I say efficient installation, I don't mean the efficiency of how the SCOP or how efficient it performs, how many kilowatts of heat it produces. I mean, what's the least amount of time they can spend on site and get the same sold efficiency to the engineer, to the homeowner. And that's really all the homeowner cares about. The homeowner doesn't care if they've got 40 degrees or 45-degree flow temperature radiators. They can have a 45-degree radiator and have a more efficient cylinder and have a better SCOP. All they care about is the efficiency, because that's what dictates your bills. That's why we're trying to change this whole paradigm to selling efficiency. And we start at 340%, because that's gas parity on the current energy cap. And then we have incremental options up from there. So you can select 380% efficiency, 400. After that, we're not really doing much of that because the payback never pays back. It's literally pointless. We may go there if people want it. We're kind of still testing this. So I guess the whole point of this is that we're empowering engineers to offer something way better than they could have done on their own, but it's still crucially requiring them. We're combining the tech and the engineer together, the best of both, to give an ultimate solution. And I think the reason it's caused a lot of kerfuffle amongst other engineers is because, particularly on LinkedIn and the socials, is because my whole gambit, it sounds like, has been the whole time, you've always been about the highest efficiency. You've always, talked about, raising standards. This isn't not raising standards. This is actually giving the customer, this is raising the standard to what the customer wants. This is increasing the value that you're giving to the customer. And that doesn't mean earning less money either. I think, yeah, the key part to kind of understand from an engineer's point of view is, yes, they may be cheaper installs. It doesn't mean you're earning less. You could definitely be earning more per day or more per month. But it does also mean there's less for the homeowners to pay in parts, etc. So of the installs we've done so far, we're installing around about 60% of the kit we would have previously. One radiator rather than 8, swapping cylinders far less regularly, and we're hitting the efficiencies left, right, and centre. So the whole thing's working. It's not really a test. It's in and it's done.
Before I forget, Adam, the cylinder thing, that was an interesting topic in its own right. So there's a LinkedIn post last week, Clayton Brown from EDF Heat Pumps mentioned how there seems to be some sort of disparity between the certification bodies who audit work on behalf of MCS about what is allowed, what ticks their boxes. Because you and I know, or lots of people will know, is there's a lot of cylinders out there that are going to be suitable for heat pumps, so we don't need to take them out and replace ones. And that comes to your efficiency piece, because efficiency is not just about running efficiently. It's about, well, why are we taking kit out that probably doesn't need to be taken out? And I started an email. I introduced you and Clayton, and I think Greg Jackson's now in the email with the NAPIT CEO. So hopefully we get some clarity around that. But are you able to do that? So if someone's got a nice working, where it's unvented or open vented cylinder, and you think, oh, that's fine, you go ahead with it.
We take dozens of data points around the hot water, and we can calculate to within a very high accuracy of exactly what efficiency that hot water will be with the existing cylinder or with a new cylinder off the bat. It's a new calculation that's not really about anymore. I think the current standards are throwaway comments like 45 litres per person plus an extra 45 litres, all this kind of stuff, which don't factor in flow rate of your shower or your bath. Like, surely your flow rate matters. Otherwise, how are you going to know how much you're going to store? Temperature you're storing at. No one's factoring in that. Just stupid, silly things. So what we're doing is actually using physics, exactly the same as our training course, to measure, right, how much water are they going to need at X temperature? What's the efficiency going to be? And we're going to deliver the efficiency. I think, like, the problem with the industry is, we spend all our time doing, isn't it? The problem in the industry is they want to use rules of thumb like flow temperature and X litres per person to try and give a rough outcome. If you can prove, and the regulations say this, if you've got a better data set and you can prove that something's going to perform better, you should go and do that because you're giving better value. That's where we need to move to. The calculations, etc., that we're using are decades old and out of date. We've got access to tons of information. Now, Open Energy Monitor has more than enough data to do a much better job of all of this. It's time we threw all this stuff in the trash and start giving better value, because it's not only going to be us offering this. Lots of other people are going to be offering this soon enough, I'm sure. And this is going to be the new way we install systems. And the best way, I should have said this before, really, the best way to describe the way that Zero Disrupt is designing a system is it's looking at the probability of hitting X efficiency if you swapped this radiator for that size radiator, or this cylinder for that cylinder. And if it looks at all those probabilities, that's when you've got all of these different designs out there. It's right, let's pick this one because this is going to have the best, the cheapest and the best likelihood to give this efficiency. So it's more of a probability type exercise than we use U values and stuff still, obviously. But that's just another data input to this whole kind of system.
I like this thing of probability. I mean, a lot of the laws of thermodynamics are actually based around probability. I think it was Maxwell back in the day used some probability maths from a lady. I can't think of her name. Probability is very, very important. It always sounds like, well, you're guessing it. Probability is guesswork, but actually, mathematically, it's a very most of the physics is kind of based around some of these probability.
That is exactly correct. So at the moment, what we do is we say, well, what about worst case scenario? So they might, on the coldest day, it might be Christmas, they might be at home and they might have the window open with the heating on, and so we're going to give it 3 air changes per hour in this thing. What about if they're going to have the whole family over? Like, let's give them extra hot water. So we were scared of probability before, so we went for worst case. But the problem is we went worst case here. And then when you actually add this all up, all these calculations at the end of a design, you end up with a lot of fat. And so what we've done is, right, what is it if we remove all of this fat, then put our own little contingency on the top, which, by the way, we back. So if this doesn't, if we don't hit the efficiency or the heat pump's undersized or something like that, we've had one undersized heat pump so far, but that was due to data input being correct, our fault actually, and we've rectified it immediately. Yeah, what we're doing is cutting out all of these little bits of stuff that are added everywhere, cutting it straight down to what's actually needed, and just adding our business sort of contingency. And we've even gone high there. Like Zero Disrupt is going to get actually cheaper over the next 6 months to a year. It's going to go down. This is our first stab, and it's working out just fine.
So I think there's a few criticisms. So I suppose one of the criticisms people have stated, there's been a few articles about this, as you know, is that it's dumbing down the industry. So I suppose, understandably, you came on the scene, as this great figurehead of getting the science correct, helping people understand the science and helping people understand what efficiency means when you use sort of maths and the science. And obviously, anyone that's grown up in this industry knows that most of the industry for a lot of decades, let's call it the boiler industry, has all been about selling units. And you could even argue that with the heat pump. I mean, I'm quite critical of the Heat Pump Association at the moment now. I don't think they're studying and doing research around what they should be doing. That they seem to be looking for ways and sort of foundations that are investing in people. They're looking at ways of getting as many heat pumps out there as possible. So, and I suppose people are saying, well, let's look at the heat pumps that are being installed at the moment, and a lot of them going in aren't that good quality. And we need to find ways. We need to have studies that are looking at that. Why is that happening? I mean, I'd like the heat pump station to do that. But arguably, you guys have been doing it. So you've been putting in good stuff. You're monitoring it. You're very aware of the poor quality stuff that's going in, and we all know that most customers can't afford this stuff. So we need to bring costs down, whatever way that is. And so you're looking at efficiency of the install as like, well, do you need to upgrade pipework? Do you need? And I suppose some people have struggled because you came on the scene, geeky, you're called geeky, saying, right, this is really, this is the science. And so I think there's sort of some cognitive dissonance there, isn't there? Some people are thinking, well, how can we now put stuff in without radiator change and whatever? So I've tried to sort of defend your position offline by saying, well, some houses. And I use my dad's house, for example. So on paper, my dad's house looks, it's going to have a high heat. There's parts of it's 300-year-old clay lump, but I know exactly what's in it because I put most of it in. My tacit knowledge, I wouldn't have to put a heat pump outside. It would run work. Nothing has to be changed. And your model is kind of spotting properties, archetypes, situations, and all sorts of variables. Variables like the heat pump where I would put it outside my dad's is very, very, very close to the cylinder cupboard upstairs. So nice. Would be short, etc., etc. And there's so many variables, as we know. And your model's doing this. Now, what I think I'm right in saying is that still doesn't mean some of your heat geeks are going to do really, really good bespoke work. Some homes need bespoke work. But for the homes that don't need bespoke work and need little disruption, you can do that. You can guarantee a certain performance that's going to be gas parity, I suppose, and away people go.
Well, it's gas parity minimum, so they can uprate their efficiency. They can select 400% efficiency if they like. Yeah, I mean, look, especially on social media, when we first come on the scene, we were making it too complicated for heating engineers. Then we were making it too simple for heating engineers. When we released the mini store, we've been doing that for years. I've heard since we released Zero Disrupt, yeah, we were doing that. Like, everyone's got something, negative to say about whatever you say, right? So you can't listen to these voices too much. You just got to this has always been my take. Put your blinkers on and just do the right thing. I remember releasing the videos about don't insulate internal pipework. I'm thinking, oh, fucking hell, here we go, excuse my language. Same for zoning. I remember, oh God, they're going to think I'm dumbing down the industry. This is Heat Geek. This is what we do. We disrupt and we get down to, right, what do we actually need to do? Not what can we sell extra. How do we give the customer, is that what they want? For the least of my time, I'm a business person. I want to go in and get out, give them what they want and have the best fair exchange. That's a good deal. If we're selling you stuff you don't need and spending more time on site than we both lose out. So that's essentially what it comes down to. So whether it's dumbing down or not, I mean, first of all, you have to pass the Heat Geek training to become a Heat Geek. So it's definitely not dumbing down. It's the hardest training in the industry, and arguably has the best results. We got 4.2 average SCOP across our whole installation fleet at the moment. So yeah, I mean, I reject that saying we're dumbing down the industry. We're also giving out free YouTube videos all the time. We developed new training here. I mean, it's I don't know. People, especially our industry, as it seems to be, and it always has been really, probably less than ever, is very cynical, and they'll always look for a crab mentality, kind of get back down here. And I kind of get that, but I'm not listening. is the simple response.
I mean, one of the comments I got. I mean, I've been getting a lot of private comments, as you can imagine. I mean, one of the comments I got was the reason you're doing it, and like you say, we are I'm one of the industry's biggest critics, probably. But one of the things was they're doing this for scalability because they need scalability to make their investors happy. Now, when I think about that, well, yeah, investors want scalability, but that's you can still have scalability if you're doing it right. Now, as we know, there's entities that have done scalability and perhaps haven't done. And they perhaps didn't mean to do it wrong, but they perhaps haven't done it as well as they could. You're looking at it, well, because as well as this scalability thing and appeasing investors, customers do need cheaper installs without a doubt. And if we can do that for not everyone, but for specific cohorts of society, where they're still going to get a good system that's going to work, run well, be efficient, not as efficient as if it was a black label.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that.
Yeah. You're dead right. People are confusing a good install with an expensive install. A good quality install gets the outcome that you want with the least amount of disruption, the least amount of gas burn, creating new radiators that you may or may not need, forging new steel cylinders that you've got to then get delivered to site, carry up the stairs, get extra labour in. Gets the same outcome without doing these bits that potentially aren't needed at all. And that's what we found through doing these hundreds of installs in Zero Disrupt. Actually, we've been guilty to it too. We're replacing loads of stuff we don't need to. Literally, it's everywhere. It would make you sick. It's literally everywhere. And when I saw the results, I was like, this is not, there's part of me that feels bad for this, but like we had to go through that to learn to get to the other side and get this data to come back out. But the results are clear. They're out there now. Our guarantee is there. Don't believe it. That's fine. Don't believe it. But we're going to carry on going to do it. So yeah, quality of install doesn't mean expensive. It means that you've given the best value possible to your customer. And that doesn't mean you earn less, because especially with Zero Disrupt, our installers could and are charging less to the customer and making more per day. What's the downside?
And that's something quite important to you, and because I think people, well, I know people think that heating engineers out there are making loads of money for themselves. Now, SMEs don't make massive amount of profit on this stuff. The big installation companies are all running at a loss, as we know. And so you're a little sole trader or a little SME, they deserve to make some money. This is
Yes, they bloody well do. These are the people holding the hot water, keeping the lights in your house. So I've been through a very interesting sort of work life so far, and I'm sitting in boardrooms that I never thought I'd be in 5 years ago. And I'm looking at the money people get paid and the value they're providing. And I'm looking at heating engineers. I don't think heating engineers are paid enough. Nowhere near enough. It makes me sick, the people that sit at the top, produce reports, demand money, and get shit all out of it at the other end. All of that money should be scrapped, given to heating engineers, just shared out evenly. You'll get a much better result. Sorry.
No, I agree.
So yeah, no, a lot of money is misspent, but it's not spent on heating engineers. One of the reasons is as well, this is basic supply and demand. If you don't want a trade to be expensive or a service to be expensive, give more apprenticeship money so we can train up apprentices, we can have more people in the industry. We've not got enough heating engineers in the UK. It's going to be expensive. This is the reason, I suppose, why Zero Disrupt is needed more than ever, because we've got to try and readdress that balance and make it more favourable to heat pumps. So yes, no, I do feel very strongly about the people that do the real work in society, and that they should be paid a fair wage. And but I don't think that means the cost of getting a good quality install done.
Do,
And one that I would add is now comparable and often a lot cheaper than a gas boiler. We get quotes for £0 come through, £0 installs.
how does that quoting system work? So let's say a homeowner wants a heat pump and know nothing about heat pumps. The first thing they're probably going to do is a Google search, and they come across Heat Geek site. They go onto it, and then do they input data, and then your algorithms, your platform works out whether their house is okay for a zero disrupt install, or how does
Yeah.
it all work? What's the process?
Right. Good question. Thanks for prodding this. This needs clearing up as well. Zero Disrupt, this AI like data trained model thing. I'm not the data scientist. He's sat over there along with other data people. Um, it is the thing that we do on site, not the website front end. So the website front end takes the best stab in the dark at what we think will come out with once we've been into your house. An expert's been into your house who knows you values, who's done the heat geek training, who knows how to calculate a heat loss himself first or her, and will scan the house, and then the computation happens. The bit at the front end on the website is just right for this size house, we roughly change about this, and for if they have it further away from their house, it's about this much extra. So it's just an invitation in. There's no fancy clever stuff going on there. We do search like Energy Savings Trust website, EPC data about your home, so we get rough data about your home. May be wrong, but it's just getting a rough idea. If your house is over 12 and a half, 13 kilowatts, we push you to the different option, which we'll come into a bit. So for the 99%, 98% of homes in the UK, that is going to be at zero disrupt. We're aiming for the 90% of homes. A lot of people also confuse these quality installs with above 12 kilowatts. It's got to have cascade, it's got to have copper sat outside, all this kind of stuff. Just because it's smaller kilowatts and it's a less expensive home doesn't mean it's not quality install. So we're aiming for that. So it filters out the larger homes and potentially maybe commercial homes or some odd thing. And then it gives them a rough guide price. From there, a homeowner pays £250 to get a survey, which is where you get the expert out and he'll tell you everything you need to know about heat pumps and scan the home. And then you get right there and then a zero disrupt experience where we throw all these calculations into the zero disrupt super brain, and then it spits out, this is your base installation efficiency, 340% efficiency. You can have the heat pump here, or here, and you can upgrade for different locations. Cylinder here, or here, and you can change the cylinder location so the homeowner knows, if I have it upstairs in the loft, that means I get to free up that cupboard. Oh, but it's going to cost me an extra £2,000. Now I'll spend that on the next house, thanks. We are making these decisions as engineers historically, going, oh, he's probably going to want it up in the loft. But no, how do you know what the price difference is unless you go and wrote up two quotes, which will take you bloody ages? This is an instant, it's a value-based journey for the homeowner. So they can pick if they want it out the front of the house or out the back. Really, I want it out the back. I don't want it out the front of the house. Oh, but it's going to cost an extra 1,400. I don't want it that much. I'll just have it. So you've got this dynamic, infinite amount of quotes in front of you right there and then, literally at the press of the button at the end of the scan. You're not going away. You're not calling around for parts. It automatically generates all the parts that are needed for that. And then you just book it in. And the beauty is, because it's only 2.5 days up to 4 or 5 days install, as opposed to 5 to 10, you're going to be able to be fit much quicker in the engineer's diary because he's got more likely to have the gap available. So they're going to be doing more jobs per month. And you're not going to be waiting. If we do have a customer that's lost their boiler because the fan's gone or whatever, they're more likely to get a heat pump in straight away. So it's literally better all round. It sounds like a sales pitch, but it's true.
You mentioned something important there, that you have an engineer still come to the home.
You have to. You have to. I mean, maybe we'll solve that one day, but it feels like decades off at the moment. I think, especially while the public still need convincing of heat pumps, right? It's still a mystical box. So when you go out, that engineer will explain why pipe size is important, why radiators is important, or anything you want to ask them. They're a heat geek. They're literally experts, and give them that reassurance and comfort. And also, the zero disrupt can't see stuff that you'll see. So if you've got to get round an awkward thing and you're going to need some special type of pipe or something, they need to be there to see that. And it's them pricing it at the end of the day. So they need to be comfortable with the price. We'll never, ever We will never, ever dictate their prices. These are the individual companies that we respect that know their own charges in their own areas and how much they need to charge for how much business they have. So they need to be comfortable with it. So you get a local engineer come out. We're just backing the installation. We're not doing the installation. We're just that confident in your local engineer because we put them through the industry's toughest training, and we watch all of their installs that they're going to do a good job.
Let's talk about
so yeah.
Before I forget, also with this thing, you're offering consumers choice, and this is interesting. So when I had Paul Eastwood works at Ofgem. He came on the show with the heating engineer that put his system in, and he really loves his heat system. But he was saying, before I kind of knew anything about this, I would have liked a bit more choices. Could I put the heat pump here or could I put it there? So your algorithm, because computationally, even some of us have got great tacit knowledge to be able to sort of think, right, well, it's going to cost them this if I did it this way. It cost them this if I put the cylinder up there or whatever. It's quite time consuming and hard. But you can quickly offer the consumer an array of choices, which I'm assuming would engender a bit more trust in the homeowner because they've been told that they've got some choices. And
well, it should be led by them. And this isn't the heating engineer's fault. I mean, I've done this for a very long time. I'd go out and, you're probably going to want that cylinder over there, and then this, because I don't want to spend days writing up different options for you. And I might, often I did, throw out ballpark quotes of like, if you want that up there, it costs you this much extra. But the more you do of that, the more ballpark it's going to be and the more fat it's going to have in it. Because we don't want to be misleading you. We'd rather tell you it's more than come down in price the other way around. Because remember, it's service supply side constrained. So we can afford to say, it's going to be loads extra to do that. And so by doing it this way, not only is it not accurate, ballpark, it's totally accurate. There's an infinite array of accuracy we can put in, options we can put in there. So when they go out, they'll say, like, you could have it round the back. They'll take a picture of the back. We've got an AR thing, so we superimpose the heat pump onto the back of the house. Then we'll put in the pipework dimensions for that location to work with the different 2-cylinder locations. Then we move it somewhere else. So we build. You very quickly build multiple options, and then they can literally pick what they want to suit whatever their house's journey will be throughout time.
That just for the listener, the guarantee, whatever you call it, and I think you're the only people in the industry that do this. There were some questions being asked. What is your guarantee? Because some people said it started off around 4 and then it's moved down a little bit, or do you just have different tiered guarantees for different options?
Excellent question. So our guarantee was that we would, what we'd actually did, right? And I've not really told anyone this out loud before, but what we used to do is we used to look up the MCS table of like what the efficiency will be for that flow temperature, and we just guaranteed that. That was our guarantee because we know we'd at least hit that and we'd exceed it, and we did. We've never had to go back to fix a below the guarantee efficiency. So. That's what we did do up until zero disrupt. Zero disrupt is the next level where we've gone, right, now when you do have a flow temperature of 48.2 when it's -2 outside, and it's this size heat pump and it's this humid and what is the efficiency then? So then we've got a new set of our own table of efficiencies, or our own, and I'm saying we're doing it, this is kind of the AI. And so that's what we're going off now. We're going off the old data that we did from the old Heat Geeks installs, taking that, learned from that, and we're projecting it. And so right now we promised you therefore, now we know we can do it up here with half the amount of radiators and no cylinder install. That makes sense. What
would you say to people that because like I said in my LinkedIn post, the other good thing that and you've mentioned it, is free. You do a lot of free videos that have helped people. There's no one else that has competed with you on good quality information for consumers.
Thank you.
Some of the consumers have really got excited about, because it is an exciting, it's just a lot of massive, a lot of physics. So you and I both know that there's some consumers out there now that know way more than most average heating engineers.
Oh, God, yeah.
Especially gas heating engineers. It's not their fault. They do great things. They can repair people's boilers and keep people alive. But they don't know so much about the science of heat. And some of the consumers now, I mean, Mick Ward obviously comes to the fore. Yeah. And so they've been watching your videos. What would you say to some people? Because I know this was a question. In their minds, they now think to get an efficient heat pump install, you have to have radiator changes and you have to have this and you have. So I suppose one of their questions is, well, why don't some homes now need to have radiator or anything to get a relatively good efficiency still?
I'd say so. We When you get a heat pump installation, you should have the option of having different flow temperature designs, first of all. So if you've got an installer that only wants to do 40-degree flow temperature or 35-degree installs, that's fine, that's up to them. But maybe work that out beforehand, because you might not want to pay whatever that costs. I'd say if this is some self-proclaimed good advice here, if you drag the efficiency up to 50, and let's say the slot is going to be 3.2, if you control it as per we advise on our videos, you're going to far outsee that, Scott, because there's so much fat in those calculations that your effective system is going to be much lower temperature than what they're designing for, if that makes sense. So what I would say to them is perhaps just buy a lower temperature system, and if you want a higher temperature system, but if you want a lower temperature system, you can always upgrade later. So that should remove the bar. We will be releasing more and more information on how we're sizing cylinders, etc., on the channel. We can't give it away all yet because we want even more data to make it concrete before we just give stuff away for free. Although we do that anyway. So yeah, the industry is going to move forward over the next year or two, and there'll be more and more stuff like ours, potentially not through us, available for everyone to use. This is the paradigm shift. This is the beginning of the paradigm shift of where we're stopping from guessing, and we were guessing. It's a very educated, very specialized guess, and it was a very good guess, the heat loss calculation, etc., and exactly what's needed at the time with the tools we had available. Now we've got another massive tool available to us, which is data. We've got more data than anyone else because we monitor more installs than OpenEnergy monitor, because we've done more installs and we literally have direct access to them. Plus, obviously, we've got access to OpenEnergy monitor's installs. Add them together, we've got a lot of installs. So yeah, with that data, you can find out a hell of a lot. And we're so far away from between theoretical accuracy and actual accuracy that you only need a few installs really to see what the delta is and start already making changes. I just don't think people have been implementing that yet, but it's to come.
Who's been using? I mean, I said this, didn't I, in a podcast I just released with Mark Demmer. I said, look, lots of people are probably using AI, but because you guys understand the science of heating so well, you're probably able to use AI in a better way. So obviously, people like Octopus are collecting lots of data, I should imagine. I mean, is there an argument? This is what
that's a good point. Actually, Octopus have definitely got more data than us.
Well, interestingly, I mean, the next case study I'll be publishing in my newsletter is a guy that's a great engineer. He's Heat Geek trained, and he did the install for Octopus lead data analyst.
Oh right, cool. Yeah.
The food chain Octopus, and it's had a nice bespoke install. John Wood put that in.
Okay.
But let's say was Octopus's model when they first come on the scene and started doing, as we know, and understandably they were sort of, the word cherry picking sounds a bit.
I understand what you're saying.
It sounds a bit of a negative word sometimes, but understandably they were picking installs that were going to be easy for them, which you totally understand. Was there anything similar to Disrupt, or is it
No, right. No, let me think of the best way to describe this. I know exactly what you're asking. So their model was to get installs in, and then in this thin vector of easy to install, and have the marketing that is cheap, great, and then expand out to learn outwards. So rather than going in from that way, we went from doing all installs, learning all the vagaries, and then pulled it back into one solution that fits all. Does that make sense? It's kind of the easiest way I can.
That makes a lot of sense.
To explain it.
Yeah, that's a great way. So like you're saying, they focused on a very, very narrow strata of what was possible. They put in heat pumps, so they didn't do things like microbore. They wouldn't do certain types of property. So the data they collected, because they wanted to expand, as I remember.
But the problem with that is it can only shift so much from what you started
with the
original
data,
guess.
You're lacking a lot.
You're lacking data, and you have to. The model is dictated by where you start it, so you either have to rebuild the whole thing again, or you have to sort of clunk it into this weird shape. If you've got to start off the zoomed out and then learn your way into this shape that it needs to be, it ends up being right the first time around. So we probably took longer, but it was the right thing to do.
Yeah. No,
and then, the one specific thing, and I'm taking away too much from Heat Geeks for saying all of this. we wouldn't have been able to do it unless we had heat geeks. Like we would have had to do it the way it's because we set. It's really, Nathan, and you'll like this. It's because we value the person on site and the engineer. We're like, right, the number one thing you have to do is get the person on site knowing what they're doing. The rest will sort itself out there, and then we just need to feed these guys with the best things that they need. Because they could. The problem we have in the UK is the houses are so across so many decades of when they were built. Then their extensions, etc., are all different times using different materials, etc., etc. There's no way you can do cookie cut that. You have to have the only way to cookie cut is to cookie cut people by stamping information in their head of all the vagaries and variances. Then it doesn't matter what they underturn when they open up the floorboards, they're always going to be able to get around it. So what the cookie cutter we went with is the engineer value and empowering the engineer. They went with cookie cutter in the home.
Mm. And you could argue it's the same when we did the studies, energy savings trust studies of 2009, 2011, heat pump study, the electrification of heat pump study. I mean, as again, I mentioned on a recent podcast, that them studies are flawed because they didn't factor in you need a good engineer to do this stuff. And understandably,
Anyway, plumbing.
right, we want to do a heat pump study. And understandably, they thought, right, well, who puts heat pumps in? Oh, right, accredited heat pump engineers. But as we know, and as what anyone should know who's been watching this or been looking at the industry, that means zilch. That means zilch. And of course, now we're left with people that are naysayers of heat pumps, constantly referring back to them studies, 2.8 and that, which it's very easy for people like you and I and anyone with a bit of common sense to understand why them studies are meaningless because the engineers putting that stuff in, most of them didn't really know what they were doing. That's not their fault, maybe. I don't know. It's just that's what it was.
Oh, they weren't given the opportunity. It's very rare. If we get someone nerd enough who can hack listening to me, because I think quite a lot of people get annoyed listening to me, you watch them come into the training or even into one of the forums we're in or even on Twitter, you see them get the bug, oh, I am of value. I can learn something here. And then they run away with it. These other engineers, just like we weren't given that opportunity. Like, that's all it is. It's like, well, the whole industry works the way I am. So they can't have got it right, right? Well, actually, sorry, beneath the veil, no one that they're doing. Right the way up to the top.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Bit like your sausage in the frying pan analogy.
Yeah, exactly.
So we talked about I mean, someone on LinkedIn today, didn't they? They mentioned we've been doing this for years, but I'd say it was something different they've been doing. I mean, I don't think people have been doing what you've been doing, and
no.
there's other entities that want to do the same as you, as in streamline it for the consumer, make it cheaper for the consumer.
But there is people close, yeah.
Do you think their offering is going to be different or the same as yours, or what's the USP that you?
Here's my braggy approach. I think they're aiming for something very similar, and it's great they are doing it because I think it is the way to do it. But our data and approach is so much further ahead. We will have higher efficiency outcomes with lower costs. We'll just be better. I don't know how long it's going to be for. Hopefully forever, but I can't be that big-headed. This is going to become industry standard at some point. And the point is, those that are fearing this and thinking, oh, no, I've only just set up this way. This is the same as when heat pumps came in and everyone was making, a grand day on a boiler swap plus the markup on the boiler. It's like, heat pumps coming now, and then those installs are dying down. They're like, I've got to relearn this thing. It's scary. It's bloody not. This is your livelihood. And now they've just learned heat pumps, and now it's like, well, actually, we could do these better too. It's another rug pull, so it's difficult for people. So I think what people just have to realize is saying this isn't real isn't going to make it go away. This is very real. It's a lot cheaper. So just get on board with. Doesn't have to be through us. So HPIN are doing something similar. You're not going to dictate your own price with that. You could go work for Octopus and know what they're doing. You're not going to have access to their data. Others that will follow in our footsteps and have software available. I'm sure. Spruce is amazing. All the others, Carno. All of them will be doing this probably at some point. But you have to start thinking about this new approach. Efficiency first. Homeowners don't care about flow temperature. They don't know what flow temperature is. This whole story you have to tell them is just a waste of their time. They just want an efficiency and how much is it going to cost?
An interesting company, because we're talking about this word efficiency, meaning not just the Scott, but the whole system cost. Do you need to replace this? Do you need to put? So an interesting company is Air. Now Air have gone very quiet with me at the moment. They used to invite me to the Parliament things, etc., etc. But I pointed out to them when they started publicising their installs, that they are using, whatever the home archetype is, or whatever the situation is, that they put buffers in. And what I'm really sort of sad about is if you look at their area and cupboard installs, they're using press fit fittings literally everywhere, even on 15 mil pipe somewhere. Now, I would fail students if they did that. So in a college situation, students sign something called, they sign something to say they're going to be responsible with materials. Conservation.
Yeah, I remember.
It's a module, the environmental awareness module.
Yeah.
And if I, for their third year sitting guilds assessment, they're doing a cylinder, unvetted cylinder. And I'd stop them before I got to this situation. There's no way they would have put in fittings everywhere for every change of direction of pipe work, because they got failed. And I pointed this out to Area. If you want to be the biggest installation company across Europe, it's not just the UK, but across Europe, and that's how you do installs. The carbon cost of all these fittings are made in foundries all over Europe, and they're a carbon intensive thing to manufacture. You're just putting in just everywhere. You're not training up your engineers to, I know 28 mil can be a bit hard, but you're a big company. I mean, rumours are they've lost 150 million this year already, or whether that's.
They could probably afford that.
Well, it's someone said to me, and I have got sources in there that every job they do is attached to a £3,000 marketing. Now, I want them to do well, but they can't listen to something that we're teaching thousands of people how to conserve materials, which is this.
Yeah. I do understand what you're saying. What I would say in rebuttal is this is basically, so we talked about Octopus earlier on, with the sort of thin layer of homes they're going, and us with the wide, but with the engineer, they're probably sitting on the other side, which is they've gone wide but throwing everything at it, and then they're probably going to use data to bring that back in as they learn. Oh, you don't need a buffer here, So I'd say the fittings are sort of an example of something that they're just overdoing at the moment. I guess they would be trimming down on that if it's going to work out cheaper. So it's just another approach, and if they're further behind, we can't blame for being further behind. Hopefully they don't spend too many more millions catching up, though.
That's a good point. I really like this analogy you're using about however. So they've gone wide like you did. They haven't sort of narrowed down the archetype of building. They've gone, right, we'll put them in, and then they'll collect data, and then maybe try and narrow the fact down.
Almost certainly. Those guys are smart. They are really smart guys. I've spoke to a lot of them, but it's going to take them a long time to catch up on that approach for where we are now, in my opinion. But I don't know where they are. I don't know what they've got happening behind the closed doors. What they're installing now is probably going to be different from what they're installing this time next year, or even 6 months' time.
Well, before I go, or before I forget it, because my mind's forgetting.
Yeah.
Did you guys go to the heat pump summit? Did Adil go? I know he went last year.
Adil and Maddie went. Yeah.
Right. What did they think of it?
I can't remember. I hate stuff like that. I don't even pay attention. I think they thought it was okay. I think they thought it was anything like. What was your thoughts of the heat pump summit?
I mean, the reason I ask is I boycotted it, and I had reasons why I boycotted it. Right. But it then turned out there was a reporter wrote an article that the owners of that media company that put it on had already received sort of bankruptcy details, and they knew that while the summit was going on. And then I've just had another report sent to me by someone very, very high up sort of the discourse in the heat pump world, that they Phoenix. So even though they owed all their employees lots and lots of money, they've now Phoenix that company and going to still try and do it. And I think they owed £650,000 to the HMRC. And my criticism to people like the HPA, Heat Pump Federation, a new media company comes into this industry that knows zilch about our industry, and all of a sudden everyone's sort of diving into it. It outpriced all our engineers, so £500 a ticket. Our engineers haven't got time to go to stuff or can afford that. And I mean,
this is why I didn't go the first year round. I don't. For me, the real roots of this industry are very easy to reach, and it's cheap. In fact, it's pretty much free. Called social media. That's where you hear real voices. You see photos of real jobs. You hear from real customers all melding together. I don't think that you're going to hear anything extra at these places. Just get on social media. Like all of this stuff's gone dead. All exhibitions, really. I mean, Installer's pretty amazing actually, but it's more social than it is. The conversation actually happens online. That's just celebration of when you finally meet up. So, I mean, but this is what you're all about and what we're all about. This is the melding pot and the peer-to-peer, which made this whole thing possible for us to do was these engineers sharing knowledge and getting passionate and chatting. They weren't doing it once a year though. In a thing, there were constant. There's a lot of knowledge and stuff to learn there, and that's the only way you're going to do it. And hopefully with a bit of framework, which is what we provide.
Let's talk about training. So I suppose we've talked about how he is iterated and work because this industry is iterating all the time. It's what I suppose most people would have thought of you as a training company back in the day. I mean, obviously you still do training. I mean, how do you see yourselves, or has your whole training journey changed? What do you do different to what you did, or?
So our training was more me going. I know quite a lot of stuff now. I want to give this stuff out, and I thought this is a one hit. I'm going to get it out, and then I've had my moment in the sun. That's my thing done. I didn't think it would lead on to another opportunity or another. So we still use that original training, but that was the reason I'm saying that is because I kind of gave everything. It's like this is everything I know, and I've learned a fair few bits still. But it was more than you need to install the heat pump. So we're bringing out new training, name to be decided, for those that are working underneath the Heat Geek or a trainee or whatever. Online again, this is all stuff you learn online. You do your physical stuff underneath an engineer in a house, in a real house, in real situations. In my opinion, it's a waste of time going to a factory somewhere. Personally, I think anything you taught there, you could teach digitally on a video and then do it in front of your boss or whatever and get a photo. Anyway, I forgot what the question was now. Going down a rabbit hole.
So how's your training sort of changed?
Oh yeah,
what
yeah.
You do different?
So that is that's our entry requirement to go, and because it's more than they need to know. It's like, oh, you got through that horrible crap hard training. I mean, it's not crap; it's actually amazing, obviously, but it's difficult. You have to work at it because we want to make sure you definitely knew it before you came through. We're not accepting a 90% pass rate. I need you to know the last 10% in order for the install to be good. If they've been through that, it shows character and it shows like they're in it. Once they got through that hard bit, we will hold your hand left, right, and center wherever you need help. Like we're just here for you. In fact, we help them through the training. We've got peer-to-peer baked into the training, as you know, where they can go and ask people how do I answer this question. We don't give answers away; we show them how to answer. And so that's still a critical part. But it's only to make up for the fact that the industry have dropped a ball and not given any training themselves. So we had to go fill the gap ourselves. That's what we're doing the whole time. Is have we got something here from the industry? No, we go and do it ourselves. Have we got an app? No, we had to go build one ourselves. There was no apps when we did the LiDAR thing. We were definitely the first. There was no apps that would have integrated into our system in the same way. So yeah, we do still offer the training. You could come and do the training. You don't have to come on to be a Heat Geek. But it's kind of just like an entry requirement for us to become a Heat Geek. Yeah, that's where training is. We're going to be bringing out more training soon, though.
So it's very much. I mean, as you know, I mean, you guys. I mean, in a podcast we did years ago now, Adam. We were chatting about this peer-to-peer. So you guys would. I mean, peer-to-peer is something that's existed since Stone Age times. People sitting around a campfire discussing how to bring down a woolly mammoth is peer-to-peer learning. But you guys were doing it in eco-technicians. And this is where the two philosophies of beta teachers, activate people as learning resources for one another, peer to peer, and activate them as autonomous learners, because no one learns anything really unless they're putting in the effort. And because people do this, so you guys got together, you formed eco technicians, and I suppose this is where you then want to help other people learn a lot more, and that's when you start doing your YouTube. So peer to peer, and then I came on the scene and said, oh, by the way, education world calls it peer to peer learning. You guys,
that's exactly what happened. Yeah, I felt like I was in a. I say this. I've said this to you a few times before as well. I felt like I was in a book at the time. It felt like I was in the beginning of something big when we were going around up and down the country teaching days of how to do water treatment, etc. Me, Mike Salmon, Andrew Millwood mainly. I remember Mike Salmon. He had Kimbo Betty on his course. This is before Kimbo Betty was training. The Heat Geeks were the original guys doing the training, the in-person days training. And I remember thinking, there's something mixed with social media, and there's some meetups. I don't know what it is, and so we just lent on it because we knew it was powerful, and we tried to build that as much as possible. Then I bumped into you after making Heat Geek, and you're like, oh yeah, no, that's just peer to peer. I'm like, oh right, thank you for that. It's very handy for me. Now I can lean on it. So I was actually still finishing off the training when you told me about that. So I was like, thank you, Nathan. I made sure I baked more of it in. Are you struggling? And underneath every single question, are you struggling with this question? Good. That's the design of the question. Go away, go to the forum, chat about it, because there's more for you to. I'm not going to tell everything the best way. This is my first shot. You want to hear it from the way he understands it, the way from she understands it. And that you'll learn not just the answer to that, you'll learn loads of other stuff while you're doing it. And those who are too afraid to ask the question will also read that. It's much more efficient way of dispelling information in social media. So yeah, that was core to our growth. Without that, we wouldn't be here, without doubt.
And this is what distinguishes your course. So obviously, the courses in our industry, lots of people go on courses, competent person scheme courses, G3, water regs. Obviously, you've got to do your gas every 5 years if people do that. The heat pump courses. Now, unfortunately, they are just courses. You go on them, you have someone stand at the front, a sage on the stage, they would call it, not necessarily, many of them aren't sages, many of them have never installed heat pumps, been near heat pumps. They've just done the 3-day heat pump course themselves, have got an assessor's award, which means they can stand up in front of a class and teach and assess, and then they go and assess. So you've got thousands of people going on these heat pump courses, which, again, the Heat Pump Association say are really, really great, and I say they're not. But then there's no support after it. They leave that 3-day course. They've got the certificates. LC Awards is absolutely happy and laughing over the moon because that's their money. No peer-to-peer learning in the background. No support. Whereas you guys do training, and it's ongoing.
Exactly that. But in addition to that, at the end of the day, they don't even check to see whether they learned anything. Like, they might get them to fill in a box, which they'll tell them to click it. So forget about the peer-to-peer. We're already, they have to have 100% pass rate. So, we're going to know that you know the information at the end, or you cheated. And we've got checks for that as well. We do a phone call, and we've got a site visit and stuff like that if you want to come on board as a geek. But yeah, that's exactly what we've done. We folded in this conversational piece, but also importantly, it's the most important thing to learn, because when you're out on site and you're like, oh, what was that thing again? You're building that muscle of, oh yeah, I'm not a single person. As you say, I'm a hive mind. I reach out to Rich Burrows, who knows the most about controls, to ask him this controls thing, or Kimbo about the hydronics or whatever. You built that muscle, and that's actually what it's about, because you don't have to be that intelligent. You just have to be as intelligent as the group that you're in.
So when someone passes your course and they say they want to get onto the Geek platform, so you do some more testing, because obviously,
yeah.
One of the things I say about online learning, so as you know, online learning, people call it distance learning. It's got all sorts of acronyms. It became a very, very heavily researched thing back in the educational world 3 decades ago. And what they found, and they specifically found this with COVID as well, because all your leading universities around the world, the whole of the education system went online, basically. No one was going into schools because of lockdown. Now, online learning is great for disseminating information and knowledge, because you can do it to lots of people. There's all sorts of reasons why it's great. But when it came to assessment, a lot of the evidence says there's a lot of cheating that goes on. So during COVID, a lot of these, a whole new industry started where, they even come and spot your home for listening. Because if I'm at home doing an online test, there's nothing to say I could have a really brainy person in the background showing me the answers.
Well, now it's ChatGPT, isn't it? It's put ChatGPT in. So we're putting in at the moment. Is it called proctoring or something like that? You'll know the answer, not me. It's where you have you put up your passport or driving license, and you've got a camera when you do a test. There's that sort of stuff. That's coming in, but what we really do is we have a phone call, first of all, an initial phone call to make sure that, we're not going to waste our time if we come out site. Then we get the heat geeks to self-assess each other. So we go onto site on one of their old installs, and we say, so what do you think about that pipe size? Is that undersized, oversized? Would you have done that a bit better? And then we've got a scoring system. So we actually go outside and literally score them. No one else is gas safe for doing this, but that's probably about it. So that's step one. If they pass those two, the phone call and in person, great, you're through. We'll let you do an install. We'll let them do the install, but they can't commission it. We will send another heat geek out with another set of criteria to go and assess their thing, and it will get a score at the end, and it will be either, yep, you're now passed as also a commissioner, and they have to have 100%, or we're going to check your next job. Here's the things that we go and look at this module again, go and learn from there, ask, again, Richard Burrows about controls or whatever, and then we'll attend to the next thing. And this is how we're filtering and making sure we always have the best available. So that's very laborious, but that's how we're doing the thing that we're doing. We're making sure we've got the best people, and saying the best people, the people that had enough time to invest to get to that level, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's pretty involved.
Yeah, and they're the people that, like Beatty said, they've invested in their own. They want to learn. So I think originally when you came on, obviously the certificate thing came out, and I think what was happening is some people were getting a certificate. It's a great badge of honor. I'm now Heat Geek trained. They were putting it on their marketing materials, and of course, understandably,
That's exactly right.
consumers thought, "Oh, Heat Geek trained. They're really, really good because we watch Adam's videos."
Yeah.
And of course, some of these people that had got these certificates hadn't took ownership of their own learning, weren't that particularly bothered, but they managed to get the course somehow.
I'll be honest with you. So most people were obviously absolutely fine. So through that
Yeah,
training.
yeah.
But the ones that weren't good, I think they did understand the maths, most of them. They were I just don't think they were very, I think they cared about business more than they did quality of outcome, or they just went, not my favorite type of person, put it that way. They were being there, they'd done it to get on the map. And this is why we had to remove it. And so, but that's not a problem now. This is why, we do this assessment, we do this quadruple check. We've literally checked it's almost like a mental test, to see their resilience, and in person to make sure that they're not wonky-eyed and the pipes are all off levels or whatever. So, yeah, I think it's very important to do.
We'll have some fun questions for you. So as you all know, you're known as a very, very geeky, sciencey expert around sort of hydronics, all this sort of thing. What have you learned recently that sort of surprised you? What have you learned sort of in the sort of heating science of things? I thought, oh right, yeah, that's.
Oh God.
I mean, would it be flow rates? Would it be pressure loss?
Oh yeah. Pressure. Well, I'll tell you what it is. That. Did you see this video?
Yes.
These are two pumps in series.
Oh,
this is on right now.
Parallel and series pumps.
They're both in series.
Yeah.
And then what they are is they've got two zone valves, and every minute and a half or something like that, it's every 12 minutes, one zone valve open. So one zone valve's permanently open. The other one, every 12 minutes, the other zone valve opens. When both zone valves are open, it's got 4.5 meters head resistance. When every 12 minutes, one zone valve closes, it goes up to 8 meters head resistance. Now, the learning here was that apparently you can't put pumps in series because one will fight against the other and they'll cause each other to explode. These have been on for 6 months now, changing over hundreds of times a day. And they're still running as if they were brand new installed. There's literally nothing wrong with putting in pumps in series. And why that's important is it means that we've potentially been putting in buffers for absolutely no reason whatsoever all along. And I'm going to say this wasn't something that surprised me, because I've actually been letting slip throughout all my videos that I'm not too sure about this, by the way. We need to test it. There's plenty of videos out there of me saying it, but I didn't know for sure. And actually, I thought it might have some effect, but it's literally got no effect at all. I don't know how or where this old rule came in. But so that's one thing. Another thing would be just how much we don't need to upsize pipework. Because of all the extra fat in heat loss calculations, the flow rates are often way more lower than you thought they would have to be, and you can get much more flow than you needed. All this stuff just goes back into zero disrupt. So I can't think of anything that's any more juicy than that, I'm afraid, unless that's juicy enough for you. But we're keeping this on the wall. We're going to keep this running forever, just to prove the point. And we will go to the point where if we're once we move our zero disrupt model to maybe take on cascades, etc., I don't think we'll probably won't need any hydraulic separation at all. We'll just stick an extra pump on if it needs it. And what's good about this is you just say to the customer, "Oh, we'll just put the heat pump in, leave it on the pump. If it doesn't circulate, I'll charge you the extra that you would have been charged anyway to go and put another pump in." So they'll get a better deal regardless. Does that make sense? That will save millions across the UK if that ends up being a thing. Millions and cubic miles of buffer space and hydraulic separation and pump and everything else. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Are you guys members of the Heat Pump Association?
I think we are, but like I say, I don't follow any of that stuff. I'm just not a fan of any of it. I think we are. That's not how it's not I'm very insular, and I like to sit on my computer and write my videos. And so anyway, why are you asking?
You work with engineers. I mean, I'm quite critical of associations.
With engineers.
I've grown up around them, and they're manufacturers. And manufacturers are highly competitive with each other. They're all, their main thing is to sell stuff. So when you get these groups of them come together in an association, are they really doing stuff that's best for the society, the engineer, and the customer? Because their number one remit is to do stuff that helps them. So, and of course, when you bring competitors together, what they're going to agree on, what they're going to actually do that's really going to be beneficial to the engineer and the consumer. And yeah, so I'm a bit.
I'll leave you to those battles. I just stay out of it.
Yeah, you've got your own battles. Well, Adam, it was great having you on. I hope people have sort of understood a little bit more about what zero disrupt is, and I'm sure you're going to be putting out more videos and content about it, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks for having me on, and thanks for being part of our journey as well, Nathan. You've literally been there. You've been inspirational to me as well, and I know your podcast has to other people. So yeah, thank you for having me on and giving me a chance to voice my bit.
Not a problem. Speak soon, buddy.
Cheers, mate. Thanks.